Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name's Babaloots, and let's talk Necro versus Chaos. I'm actually in a really unique position to have like an okay-ish Necro, as well as a really well-developed Jahin Chaos weapon. And today I'm going to test those on normal Damian, and we'll see how they perform and see if really answer the question if going Necro is absolutely necessary, or if you can get by with a chaos weapon on some mid-game content. Start off, we'll go over the weapons I'm using. If you haven't seen my gear video that I posted 3 days ago, give or take, you could always watch that, but we're just gonna go over them again anyway for the sake of argument. So the Necro Jester here is level 42. I did land 1 Exalt on it. I have just recently passed this into Necro, so this is kind of, I feel like, what you would expect when you land your first Necro weapon. The flames need work. The potential could use some work. Like, it's passable, but we're definitely missing probably 8% crit damage we could probably at least get out of this still. The emblem needs work, and the soul is just your basic Arcarium soul. There's nothing really special about this other than that it's a Necro. And, oh, it's true perfect base attack, I guess. And now the Jahin Cane here, this was my perma weapon for a long time, so there's been a lot of work put into it. It is level 50. The flames are decent. The potential's good. The emblem is great. I mean, that's as high as it gets. And the soul could use some work, but this is what I had to do hard Damian, so I think I will leave as is. And the Star Force is great. The Star Force on the Necro Jester is not ideal. When I saw that they were adding practice mode, I got really excited. I was already planning on doing this video, but seeing practice mode drop, I was like, I gotta get this out right now. Like, I was gonna do it in the Fog Gardens, or whatever they're called, the Fog Forest training grounds here, and sure, that would give like a good DPS check, but I think it's a bit more realistic to be in the actual boss fight. So kind of what my plan is to try and set this up is it's just gonna be me doing phase 1 Damian. For the practice mode settings, I'm gonna be running all the damage buffs. We'll go over my nodes in a moment because they are going to change depending on what weapon I'm using. And shout out to Delta Kaze from the stream for actually suggesting the node setup. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but we are going to not run that. That's unrealistic. I don't even know where you get those other than buying them. And I do run all the Tang Yuns. And for my sake, we're going to run the boss rush potion just to expedite the damage a bit. Other than that, I think this is kind of how we're going to set up the buffs. And now if we head over to the nodes, when I'm doing the Necro weapon, I will be running everything you see here and then defense smash 4. But when it comes time for me to use the chaos weapon, I'm actually going to switch to lethal strike 4. And that gives you 50% crit rate. It's pretty much just the crit rate version of defense smash. And I have ran a little bit of testing, and it does perform better for a chaos weapon than it does for a Necro. And it even performs better than defense smash 4 would perform on a chaos weapon as well, because you are really held back by your crit. But we also need to keep in mind that all of my nodes are maxed, so I do, at least all of my try nodes and some of my skill nodes are, but since they're maxed, I do have a lot of additional defense rate, ignore rate, as you can see there, and so I get 15%, and then same with on all my basic skills. So you might not be in a position, it might require a little bit of testing for you to see if with your chaos weapon, if lethal strike 4 performs better than defense smash 4, but this is kind of what I'm working with right now. So gonna pull these up just so you can see one last time, and I'm gonna hop into Damian here, and I do think actually I will go for a full clear on the boss, and whenever I finish I'll jot down that time and we will compare clear times. But then after, I think I will hop into the fog training ground to also check like the DPM of those weapons. So we're gonna hop in here, and I'm gonna record the whole thing, but through the magic of editing, you guys will get to skip ahead. Okay, so like 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. Not my best Damian clear. I'm a little rusty right now, but we'll use that as a placeholder. 319 billion damage done. I will boot up with the next weapon and we'll go from there. Now on to Damian practice mode, but with the Chaos Jahin weapon. I'll be using that with Lethal Strike 4 for the increased crit rate. And we're going to kind of see how the time goes. I'm also going to be a bit better at doing Damian since I've gotten one clear in me today. But we'll kind of take this with a grain of salt, and we will be testing it in the fog training grounds after. And that, I think, will really kind of help solidify this data that we're gathering here. So that was about like 350, I think, if I remember correctly. I can just check back on the recording. But that could be due to me doing the fight a bit cleaner. I believe that Necro was 310. Or a slew of other things. So now we're going to hop into the fog training ground and really see what is going on under the hood. In the fog forest grounds, we're going with 40% defense, level 200, which I believe should give some crit resistance to the boss. And as well as we're just going to do 30 seconds. We're going to keep it short and sweet. That's one rotation, and then milligills for burst. That's just my hurricane skill. So I've been sitting on my mount to reset my buffs. So we're going to start the battle analysis. I'm going no buffs other than my pet buffs, like no food buffs, I guess I should say. And we will see what goes on here. Okay, we were able to get up to 40 billion damage. The DPS is 1.33 billion. Okay, and now we have the Jahin Chaos weapon that we're going to be using in the Fog Forest Training Grounds. And pretty much the same setup as the Necro. I waited for my buffs. We're going to get off the mount once the battle starts and just DPS it and see where that takes us. Wow. So that is a lot closer than I was expecting, and I would say they're basically even. Before I made this video, I don't know if there was any tests done comparing a Necro to a Chaos Jahin that wouldn't have been done in just a calculator or anything like that. So at least we have some physical proof, I guess, for these numbers, and it includes human error and mistakes. I'm not a perfect Damian player, but we can see that those numbers are very similar. And if you don't want to go Necro because you don't want to be stuck on a mythic weapon for an undetermined amount of time while you wait for an RNG check to pass, then I think Chaos is a viable path. Once you get to Damian, Lucid, those higher tier bosses, anything higher than that, you will want to have a Necro that you're working on, and a Necro is kind of like a way to just skip over some steps, and I think you will need one eventually. But if you want consistent growth, I know I did, I would just work on your inherent weapon, chaos it up, and just have a mythic emblem with no work really done on it that you just keep attempting Necro on. And then when it hits, that's when you start putting effort into, you know, refining and finishing that weapon. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment down below because I think the information in this video was crazy and eye-opening a little bit. And if you haven't, sub to the channel, leave a like. This video took a lot of time to make compared to my other videos, as there was lots of testing and things going on behind the scenes. So anything you can do to help out, I'd appreciate.